Hello, Aries. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for your patience in not receiving your video last time. I was super, super sick, so I appreciate your patience. Let's get into your reading. Show me energy for, I'm sorry, Aries. Aries, Aries, Aries. Show me energy present for Aries. Okay. So you have the Three of Wands popping out in reverse. I'm going to pull your cards out, Aries, first, and then we're going to get into the reading, okay? And excuse my throat if I keep coughing. Still sick. We have the Chariot here. So far, got a lot of positivity, forward movement. It's like 15 cards. I'm not picking all those up. Okay. Queen of Cups. Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. Heavy Cancer placement here right now. Heavy Cancer placement. Show me more for Aries. The World. The Sun. The Eight of Wands. Show me more for Aries. Okay. So you have the Five of Pentacles here. Two of Cups. It did come out in reverse. It came out sideways, but it was more in the reverse. Sideways was like that. I'll bring it up right, but we'll read it both ways. And then you have the Two of Pentacles here in reverse with the Nine of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. So Aries, what I'm feeling here first, well, let's get it off the table. You could be dealing with, like I said, Cancer or Leo heavily. Either way, though, it doesn't have to be that. It feels like there is new understanding, new breath, new pep in your step, new awareness in wanting to go in a certain direction. And it feels like you've decided that. It feels like you're no longer waiting for what you've been hoping for. It's like sometimes we have to take the reins and do things ourselves. Sometimes we have to essentially get knocked down so many times that we start to, that we rebuild ourselves in a way that nobody can knock us down. You know, it's then our own, we're the only ones that can knock us down. I hope that makes sense. You guys are a very adventurous bunch. You are very lightning, speedy, quick, shockingly vivid and brilliant in how you change yourself and how you shift your perception and how quickly you learn in life. You're very magical that way, especially in regard to love, in regard to what makes sense for you in love and how you go about it, which direction you want to go towards. It feels here that we've essentially had to sit a while. We've had to wait a while in regard to what it is that we want for what we want. And I guess in that interim, that time away, we've kind of come to new growth, new ways of seeing things. You've had to read between the lines in a lot of ways to recognize what brings you emotional balance, what brings you, I guess, what brings you to a sense of being able to trust somebody, you know, and trust your own feelings in regard to relationships and situations, you know. Whether this be moving towards somebody or away from somebody, the point here is we're looking at a connection. We're looking at a connection between two people. We're looking at a connection that I feel forgiveness in a lot of ways that's coming up very heavily right now for me. Forgiveness, I'm feeling a lot of communication in regard to that forgiveness, learning lessons that are pretty substantial. Again, getting knocked down, but building ourselves up to points where it's like now we can't get knocked down. When you get knocked down so many times, there's a point where you learn how to just bend with the wind, not get knocked over. Like you manage that quite well. um, in regard to this situation, though, I think it's important to also say that we have to be satisfied in what we are involved in. And I know that sounds like a no-brainer, but a lot of people really want to hold on to situations. They want to hold on to things that aren't helpful for them any longer. They want to be, it's almost as if like, well, if he's down and broken, then, well, I guess I'm going to be down and broken too. Like, no, like that doesn't serve anybody. It's not helpful to anybody, least of all yourself. It's don't be in situations where it's like the blind leading the blind. If you're in a situation or you have been in a situation that has essentially required you to evaluate how that works, what makes sense for you, like, are you happy? Does it feel like you're giving to this endless pit of despair? Like, you need to be very on board with what makes you happy and you need to go after that. I feel, and I know that I'm saying a lot of darker things, but it feels like that's kind of like the culmination up to this point. Because now this reading feels very positive. It feels very much like we're moving in a direction that actually makes sense for us, but we're doing so on our own terms. We're doing so with newfound information of ourselves that we provide ourselves, newfound information that we have to look into on our own for our own emotional well-being, and being very clear about that, communicating about that, and being happy to. There's only so much that you can stay within stagnancy and frustration. So let's clarify here, okay? First of all, show me the Queen of Cups for Aries. So you have the World and you have the Knight of Swords here. So in regard to this Queen of Cups, this is again recognizing what needs to go, recognizing finality in our lives, recognizing change, recognizing what we alleviate from ourselves when we choose to step into our own power. But again, this is something of an emotional revelation. I feel that this is an emotional, a new sense of emotional awareness, and it's being very clear in that. It's being very blunt with that. It's being very open and honest about your feelings in regard to this communication that you need to have, or that is being had with you. I feel that this is more so you. It feels like there's energy that's moving very, very quickly, and it's like, it's your way, and it needs to be that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It stabilizes you, it solidifies you, and it helps you get what you need. Show me, hi Marcel. So with the Chariot, you have the Nine of Cups popping out. So in regard to this is, first of all, yes, it's emotional. It's wish fulfillment. I know, wish fulfillment, but this is about emotional abundance. It's about being satisfied in your life. It's about giving to yourself, making sense of what makes, making sense of what you want, having what you want, being around people that make sense in your life. Sometimes when we're around people that can stagnate, that kind of like blind leading the blind, willingly being in situations that are not healthy, it stifles us. It's not really a true representation of what is emotionally sound. It's not a true representation of what is healthy for us to be in regard to relationships and those that we rely on in our relationships. Here, we're moving towards something that actually makes sense for us. We're moving towards something that's actually happy for us. It's bright, it's exuberant. This reading feels very bright, exuberant, moving forward, but it's also kind of like getting a hold on emotional understanding, kind of the motives, the ticks, what makes you tick, and getting clear about that. Show me the Sun. So with the Sun, you have the Two of Pentacles in reverse, the Sun in the center, and then the King of Cups in reverse. So if you've been dealing with a water sign, the water sign is it's presented heavily here. If you've been dealing with a water sign, it feels like either they are out of balance or the way that they communicate their emotions has been very out of balance. And it could be you dealing with your emotions as well. But we have the Sun in the center and we have the Sun clarifying the Sun. This is forward movement. It's a lot of brightness. It's a lot of clarity. It's a lot of happiness. It's children. It's forward movement. It's very expansive energy, aha moments, things that create bliss, you know. And I think sometimes when we realize that we have to let go of certain people or energies in our lives where we are emotionally stagnant, where we don't really pay attention to our emotions, when we drink, when we try to hide our emotions. I feel that this is like somebody here has either been hiding their emotions or you have been hiding your emotions. Somebody has been very like in the closet about something. It feels like, I don't know. Some of you, this may be somebody coming out of the closet. That may be something that's like part of this reading. Some of you, that's not, you know, but that kind of seems like recognizing what makes sense for you emotionally, or somebody emotionally recognizing what truly brings them to their happiness, recognizing what feels good for them, and them just going after it. But this only happens after we find balance. You have two cards of imbalance here, the same card. You've got the Two of Pentacles here in reverse twice. So this is a heavy deal of imbalance to contend with. And it feels like due to that, it's also caused somebody to stay away or to be put at arm's length. Yet, even within that type of relationship where somebody is at arm's length, there's still an undeniable bond. There's still a connection. There's still a lot of deep love here. This doesn't have to just be romantic love, okay? This can be familial love, friends, you know, how you love yourself, you know, what you get involved with that brings you satisfaction. There's a lot of things to the Two of Cups, but it feels like somebody here is essentially letting go of an old way of being so they can step into their new form, so they can step into new happiness. But it essentially pivots upon emotional acceptance. That's what I want to say. Show me the Three of Wands in reverse. Yeah, so whoever this is, here we're waiting. We know what we want. We've done some work to go after it. We're waiting for it to come in. Here we've either abandoned it or it's coming. It's ready now. And I feel that it's more so on the ready side. But what's happened to get to this point is essentially waiting, and a lot of really pensive, anxiety-ridden waiting, a lot of frustration, a lot of not being comfortable within our own skin. Again, this is really, for some reason, I'm really picking up a lot of somebody coming out of the closet, or somebody like understanding what makes sense for them, like sexually or something like that, you know. And it's like wanting the acceptance of other people, but also recognizing when things need to die and allowing them to die, allowing things to fall away so that new things can happen. And sometimes that that's difficult, but you know, if we keep ourselves shut away, here, the Knight of Cups underneath. The Knight of Cups, I do want to say this now because this can often talk about bisexuality. It can talk about alternative lifestyles. Underneath the Knight of Cups, you have death, and you have the Moon with the Six of Swords underneath it, and the Four of Swords. So this is essentially somebody presenting themselves in a new way, somebody presenting what makes them emotionally satisfied and recognizing what doesn't work. Here, we have to essentially bring down secrecy. We have to bring down the silence, you know, bring awareness to what's been hidden. And the Knight of Cups also talks about somebody who is essentially wanting to communicate about their emotions. It's not just a cup of love. I feel here this is somebody wanting to communicate about their emotions. And if this doesn't have something to do with like somebody figuring out their sexuality or their gender, or like figuring out what makes sense for them in that regard, like it feels that somebody here is wanting to communicate about a certain change in their life. And even if it's not communicating that, and if it's just you going forward towards certain change, it's about emotional change. It's about understanding ourselves on an emotional level, recognizing things of the past and moving past them, things that may have really held you down and kept you very stuck and emotionally stagnant. It's like blowing the top off of it and actually stepping forward into your new sense of being and power. But it takes a fair amount of compassion, whether that be compassion for another person or compassion for yourself. But yeah, there's a lot of exuberance, you know. But after we move, and there's an emphasis here too, where this is kind of big, because I feel after we move away from it, after we move away from whatever stagnancy is here, we have to take a break. We've got to take a big fucking break. Like, it's like, oh shit, whew, off my shoulders, but now I gotta reacclimate. I've got to get back into my new skin, or get into my new skin. I've got to figure some things out. In regard to people who are coming out of the closet and all that stuff, it seems like there's been like a really big ambivalence to tell folks about that, to connect with people about that, and you're worried that you're going to lose people, and you might, but like there's also a heavy level here of abundance. Like it almost may be like you're shutting yourself out in the cold and keeping yourself at arm's length because you're afraid of people doing that to you, but in actuality you're already doing that to yourself. And if this does not make sense for somebody in regard to gender or like sexuality or whatever, like something about somebody keeping themselves away from something, somebody not engaging in things because they're afraid that they're going to be judged for something, they're afraid they're going to be like shunned and kept away. Here we have this Nine of Swords at the bottom of the deck in reverse. This is about alleviating that mental frustration. It's about stepping into into your true power, stepping into what actually makes sense for you and believing it. You know, and I feel like for a long time you've kept yourself at bay. You've kept yourself at arm's length and you've done things on your own. And I think that that's great, but it feels now we're here to engage. We're here to re-engage. We're here to reinvent. So reinventing the self, reinventing how we go about things, re-engaging with situations and people in different ways so that we can actually have a positive effect in how we establish our new sense of self. Show me the Nine of Pentacles here. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm super sick still, actually. It's stupid because it's been already a week. I'm fucking over it. My throat is like, ugh. Yeah, the Nine of Pentacles here. You have the High Priestess popping out in reverse. Okay. So in regard to this card, what I'm feeling is basically keeping oneself out of the limelight, but also keeping yourself away from situations. And it may have not been in your best interest. It may have been misguided to do so. You may have just been working out of your ego and your lower ego versus being understanding that other people will understand you. I might make another video for Aries. I can't guarantee that. I'm super busy right now, but we'll see. Yeah. Essentially keeping yourself away from people, away from others, working on your own stuff. And while that's been positive in a lot of ways because it gets you to where you need to go in the next phase of things, to this awakening, this coming out, this burst of reinventive energy and understanding of self, this is almost like we are keeping ourselves away because we're afraid. But now the secrets are being opened here, okay? The secrets are being opened, they're being revealed, and it's kind of highlighting why we've been stagnant, why we've been away. Things that you may have not spoken about before that had no clarity. need to have clarity, need to have awareness be brought to them. Show me the Two of Cups. Show me the Two of Cups for Aries. Yeah, show me the Two of Cups for Aries. So the Two of Cups for Aries, you have the Ace of Wands in reverse, and you've got the Eight of Swords. So in regard to this, it's basically worrying. It's worrying about not having new beginnings with people. It's worrying about being shunned. It's worrying about not having, you know, in certain ways, like new opportunities with people. You need to give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes, and trust that they have. A lot of people have the awareness to have expansive awareness. It's not just like closed off, you know. Some people are closed off, but not everybody's going, and not everybody's going to like take on what you want to do. Not everybody's going to be behind you, but still you have to persevere. You have to have the strength in yourself to say, okay, well, you're not on board with me. Doesn't mean you don't love me. It doesn't mean I don't love you, but fuck, it's not going to make sense if I just sit here and stagnate with that. What is that? That's disregarding yourself. You have to move forward. You have to be passionate about it. You have to turn this upright. Okay. I'm afraid. That's what I feel. I'm afraid. It's like I'm afraid they won't love me. Okay. Show me the Sun. Love you. So on the bottom of the deck earlier, and now it's the Emperor in reverse. For the last hand, it was the King of Wands in reverse. Now it's the Queen of Wands in reverse. I feel like somebody, Aries, if this is you, you're dealing with people who you feel that don't accept, are dissatisfied. Somebody is against you. That's what it feels like to me. And the information that you've sat on for so long, you've got the Hangman in reverse, and you have the oh shit, this is gonna go. There's gonna be a second video to this. Damn it! It closes off